Welcome to the Bible Book Club. Now, some of you have asked if you can give to the podcast, and for the first time ever, the answer is yes. Bible Book Club is officially a nonprofit, and you can give to it. So, what are you giving to? Well, we're rather simple in our structure. Heather, Buck, Haley, and I do this in our free time. That means all of your gifts will be used to reach new listeners. Currently, the podcast has grown by word of mouth and just $1,000 a month of personal funds used to reach new listeners through digital ads. But think about how much we could grow the podcast in 2025 if you gave and we doubled or tripled that monthly spend. Ponder the math and consider giving today so that we can reach more listeners like you. We will put the link to donate in the show notes. Thank you for listening and giving. This is the Bible Book Club,
the book of 1 Chronicles.
Welcome to the club.
Last episode in chapter 6, we discussed the tribe of Levi, a tribe set apart to serve God, and possibly also the tribe that our chronicler could be from. The tribe is strategically placed in the middle of all the genealogies. This tribe was responsible for leading the Israelites back into a covenant relationship with God. In addition, without a king, they often also took a role in leading the Israelites as a community. The tribe of Levi was set apart to serve God, to teach the law, and to guide the people. Within the tribe of Levi was the line of the priesthood, with Aaron as the founder. And each of the three sons of Levi, or clans, were given specific responsibilities for working in service to God and the people.
In this episode, we will complete the 12 genealogies with an ominous challenge. So here we go. The last of the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, these tribes lived on the west side of the Jordan, north of Judah and Simeon. There are 6 of these tribes: Issachar, Naphtali, the other half tribe of Manasseh, Ephraim, Asher, and Benjamin. Notably missing are the tribes of Dan and Zebulun. Now, Dan is missing because they disappeared, as we've discussed. Zebulun probably because the two tribes of Zebulun and Issachar became linked, as they were always close because they shared the same mother and father, and they lived in adjacent territories, so it's thought that they just kind of merged. Now, for framework, recall that the northern tribes, these ones I just mentioned, along with the 3 Transjordan tribes, formed the northern kingdom of Israel during the times of kings. They often opposed the southern kingdom, which was also called Judah. So it's important to remember that sometimes they were even enemies within Israel. In this episode, our author is writing post-exile, past the time of the divided kingdom, and it's his desire for the tribes to be once again united. This is a chance at a new beginning, a chance to reform the nation as God had planned. So let's start with the tribe of Issachar. Issachar was the 9th son of Jacob and Leah's 5th son. Now, Issachar's territory was not large, but it was coveted as some of the most fertile land in Israel. We'll link the map of the territories of all the tribes in the show notes if you're curious about the location of each tribe as we discuss them.
And now we'll get straight into chapter 7. The sons of Issachar: Tula, Puah, Jeshub, and Shimron, 4 in all. The sons of Tula: Uzi, Rephiah, Jeriel, Jahamai, Ibsam, and Samuel, heads of their families. During the reign of David, the descendants of Tula, listed as fighting men in their genealogy, numbered 22,600. The son of Uzi: Izariah. The sons of Izariah: Michael, Obadiah, Joel, and Isaiah. All 5 of them were chiefs. According to their family genealogy, they had 36,000 men ready for battle, for they had many wives and children. The relatives who were fighting men belonging to all the clans of Issachar, as listed in their genealogy, were 87,000 in all.
So he only mentions part of the tribe of Issachar, but there were 87,000 in all. So clearly the tribe of Issachar had once been really large. And our author is kind of throwing them some love by mentioning their military force because they once were a mighty contributor to Israel's military. In fact, the judge Deborah praised them for their support in Judges 5. In chapter 12, we're going to read that they eventually became known more for wisdom and strategic insight than for their might in battle. Next up is the tribe of Benjamin. Benjamin was the youngest son of Jacob and the second son born to his beloved Rachel. She died giving birth to him. And next to Joseph, Rachel's only other son, Benjamin was a favorite of Jacob's. His name reflects his father's favor. It means son of my right hand. Now, you may be confused about why Benjamin's genealogy is being discussed here, because we talked about the fact that the three most important tribes, Judah, Levi, and Benjamin, form the beginning, middle, and end of the genealogies. Benjamin is placed here in the tribal list, but also again at the end. In this section, all three of Benjamin's sons are given print. In the final section, only the line of Bela, the line that leads to King Saul, is detailed. Much like David's line, Saul's is going to be singled out because although the crown was taken from him, he was anointed by God.
Verse 6, 3 sons of Benjamin, Bela, Becher, and Jediael. The sons of Bela, Ebzan, Uziel, Jeremoth, and Iri, heads of the families, 5 in all. Their genealogical record listed 22,034 fighting men. The sons of Becher, Zemirah, Joash, Eleazar, Elionai, Omri, Jeremoth, Abijah, Anathoth, and Alameth. All these were the sons of Becher. Their genealogical record listed the heads of the families and 20,200 fighting men. The son of Jediael, Bilhan. The sons of Bilhan, Jeush, Benjamin, Ehud, Kanahah, Zethan, Tarshish, and Ahishakar. All these sons of Jediael were the heads of families. There were 17,200 fighting men ready to go out to war. The Shuphites and the Huphites were the descendants of Ir, and the Hushites the descendants of Asher.
The tribe of Benjamin produced some really important leaders. The first king of Israel, Saul, was a Benjamite, and his son Jonathan, who was a faithful friend of David's. The second judge of Israel was a Benjamite named Ehud. He was a clever and violent man who tricked the guards and single-handedly sunk a knife into Eglon, the king of Moab. It's a great story in season 7, episode 3. And there are more famous Benjamites not yet discussed in our journey so far. Queen Esther, her uncle Mordecai, and the apostle Paul were all from the tribe of Benjamin. All right, next up, the tribe of Naphtali.
Verse 13, the sons of Naphtali, Jahaziel, Guni, Jezer, and Shilem, the descendants of Bilhah.
Naphtali was Jacob's 6th son, his second son by Bilhah, who was Rachel's servant. This genealogy is the shortest one, I think. There was one notable descendant of Naphtali that I could find, and that was Barak, who, under the leadership of the judge Deborah, delivered Israel from the oppression of the Canaanites. Okay. The other half tribe of Manasseh is next. The tribe of Manasseh, remember, split, taking territory on both sides of the river. This is the other half that lived on what the Israelites considered the right side of the Jordan River. Now recall that Manasseh and Ephraim were the sons of Jacob's favorite son, Joseph. Joseph was his first son with his favorite wife, Rachel. Beloved by his father and envied by his 11 brothers, Joseph saved his family from famine by becoming Pharaoh's right-hand man. The result was that Joseph got a double blessing of the promised land, and both of his sons became tribes, which I've never liked that because then Joseph's name does not carry forward as one of the 12, and I hate that for him.
Yeah, he was an important guy. Verse 14, the descendants of Manasseh. Asriel was his descendant through his Aramean concubine. She gave birth to Machir, the father of Gilead. Machir took a wife from among the Huphites and the Shuphites. His sister's name was Maacah. Another descendant was named Zelophehad, who had only daughters. Machir's wife Maacah gave birth to a son and named him Peresh. His brother was named Sheresh, and his sons were Ulam and Rakem. The son of Ulam, Bedan. These were the sons of Gilead, son of Machir, the son of Manasseh. His sister Hammoleketh gave birth to Ishod, Abiezer, and Mahlah. The sons of Shemaiah were Ahian, Shechem, Likhi, and Anaim.
So a lot of the commentaries talk about this, and I love it, that our author has a heart for inclusivity, often including a random detail in a genealogy about women or foreigners. Because, the line was passed from son to son. So we get a lot of mentions of the males, but not the women or the foreigners. In this case, the author mentions the daughters of Zelophehad. Now, in chapter 27 of the book of Numbers, these women advocated for revolutionary reform in the legal rights of women to inherit property. The family of Zelophehad had a problem. Their father had no sons when he died, like his entire generation did, of men in the wilderness. Under the existing law, his name and property would have been lost in the promised land. The sisters approached Moses with the dilemma, and after consulting with God, Moses established a new law. If a man had no sons, the land would go to his daughters. Later, that law was amended to stipulate that the daughters had to marry within their tribe so that the land did not leave the tribe. The chronicler drops this detail to remind those returning from the exile that daughters will be protected now as they were then. Okay, next up, the tribe of Ephraim. Ephraim was Joseph's other son. He was the younger son, but he got Jacob's blessing despite Joseph's protests. Listen to Genesis 48.
Starting in verse 17, when Joseph saw his father placing his right hand on Ephraim's head, he was displeased. So he took hold of his father's hand to move it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head. Joseph said to him, "No, my father, this one is the firstborn. Put your right hand on his head." But his father refused and said, "I know, my son, I know. He too will become a people, and he too will become great. Nevertheless, his younger brother will be greater than he."
We've seen this so many times, with Jacob and Esau, with Ishmael and Israel. God chooses who God will choose. And in fact, the tribe of Ephraim became greater than the tribe of Manasseh. They became so great that the entire northern kingdom, consisting of 10 tribes, was often just called Ephraim because of their leadership over the tribes of the north. Now, the first king of the northern kingdom, Jeroboam, was from the tribe of Ephraim. However, this is not something to boast about, as he was responsible for tearing the united kingdom of Israel apart. This fact, I think, would have deeply grieved Joseph, who took such joy in being reunited with his brothers. To have one of his descendants tear the nation of Israel apart would have been hard.
Continuing in verse 20, the descendants of Ephraim: Shuthelah, Bered, his son; Tahath, his son; Eladah, his son; Tahath, his son; Zabad, his son; and Shuthelah, his son. Ezer and Eliad were killed by the native-born men of Gath when they went down to seize their livestock. Their father Ephraim mourned them for many days, and his relatives came to comfort him. Then he made love to his wife again, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. He named him Beriah, because there had been misfortune in his family. His daughter was Shirah, who built Lower and Upper Beth Horon, as well as Uzen Shirah. Rephah was his son, Rishpheth his son, Telah his son, Tahan his son, Laden his son, Ammihud his son, Elishama his son, Nun his son, and Joshua his son. Their lands and settlements included Bethel and its surrounding villages, Naaran to the east, Gezer and its villages to the west, and Shechem and its villages all the way to Aiah and its villages. Along the borders of Manasseh were Bethshan, Taanach, Megiddo, and Dor, together with their villages. The descendants of Joseph, son of Israel, lived in these towns.
The author gives several shout-outs to this tribe. He mentions Shirah, who is another notable woman who established 3 towns all on her own. Joshua is mentioned. He is the Joshua who succeeded Moses and conquered Canaan. The author does not mention Abdon, who was a minor judge in the book of Judges, nor does he mention the judge Deborah, who lived in Ephraim, but actually may not have been from this tribe, is not known. The tribe of Asher is next. Now, Asher was the 8th son of Jacob and the 2nd son of Zilpah, Leah's servant.
Verse 30. The sons of Asher: Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, and Beriah. Their sister was Serah. The sons of Beriah: Heber and Malchiel, who was the father of Birzaith. Heber was the father of Japhelet, Shomer, and Hotham, and of their sister Shua. The sons of Japhelet: Pesach, Bimahal, and Ashvath. These were Japhelet's sons. The sons of Shomer: Ahi, Rogha, Hubah, and Aram. The sons of his brother Helim: Zophah, Imnah, Shelish, and Amal. The sons of Zophah: Shua, Harnepher, Shual, Beri, Imrah, Bezer, Hod, Shammah, Shilshah, Ithran, and Bera. The sons of Jether: Jephaniah, Pispa, and Era. The sons of Eula: Era, Haniel, and Riza. All these were the descendants of Asher, heads of the families, choice men, brave warriors, and outstanding leaders. The number of men ready for battle, as listed in their genealogy, was 26,000.
This tribe of Asher had significantly decreased in size from Numbers, where their military ranks had grown to 53,400 compared to here, they're at 26,000. And that completes the list of all the minor tribes. Next, the author returns to the tribe he strategically wants to end with, the tribe of Benjamin, and the genealogy of the line of Benjamin that produced the first king, Saul. This is the tribe of Benjamin continued.
Chapter 8. Benjamin was the father of Bela, his firstborn, Ashbel, the second son, Ahara, the third, Noha, the fourth, and Rapha, the fifth.
And now he's going to focus just on those descendants of Bela, the firstborn, that lead to Saul.
Verse 3, the sons of Bela were Adar, Gera, the father of Ehud, Abishua, Naaman, Ahoah, Gera, Shephuphan, and Huram. These were the descendants of Ehud, who were the heads of families of those living in Geba and were deported to Manahath. Naaman, Ahijah, and Gera, who deported them, and who was the father of Uzzah and Ahihud.
So this section focuses on Ehud because, as we've already mentioned, he became an important leader and one of the judges from the book of Judges. Now, 3 family lines from this line of Benjamin left the territory and went to Manahath. The record about heads of families being deported has produced several theories in the commentaries. The commentary suggests the word translated deported may have meant migrated. This makes sense because migrations often happen during famine. And if you think about Jacob's family's migration to Egypt, where Joseph providentially provided for them, as an example. Also, Naomi's family migrated from Bethlehem in the book of Ruth. Or it could be they moved because it became too large for the area and moved for more land, kind of like Manasseh split. Whatever the reason, the important point is that Manahath is located in the tribe of Judah. They did not move to a foreign territory. And again, we see this close connection of the 2 tribes that formed the southern kingdom, which is very important, of course, to our chronicler.
Continuing in verse 8, sons were born to Shaharaim in Moab after he had divorced his wives Hushim and Beerah. By his wife Hodesh, he had Jobab, Zibiah, Mesha, Malcolm, Jeuz, Sakia, and Mirma. These were his sons, heads of families. By Hushim, he had Abitub and Elpaal.
Shaharaim migrated to Moab, which was like a satellite state during the time of David and Solomon, because they had conquered Moab. They actually did gain their country back later, but during this time, it would have been okay for them to migrate there. Now, a detailed detour here is a story of divorce, which again, our chronicler wants to bring in all kinds of family situations. We don't know why Shaharaim divorced Hushim and Beerah, but our author honors these women and includes them in the genealogy despite their husband divorcing them. And it is Hushim, the first wife, who is featured as her son Elpaal is the focus of the next section of the genealogy. These are the descendants of Elpaal.
Verse 12. The sons of Elpaal, Eber, Misham, Shemed, who built Ono and Lod with its surrounding villages, and Beriah and Shema, who were the heads of families of those living in Ajalon, and who drove out the inhabitants of Gath.
Okay, so here's a dark detail drop. And I love this about our author because he drops these little things. And if you're just reading the genealogy and not paying attention, you'd be like, okay, yeah, they had that city. But there's meaning behind what he's saying. The author drops this subtle, dark detail on the tribe of Dan, even though they're not even mentioned here. The three cities listed, Ono, Lod, and Ajalon, as inhabited by the sons of Elpaal, had all been cities allotted to the tribe of Dan. But Dan failed to drive out the Canaanites in their territory. And as a result, the tribe of Benjamin took over the territory. It's a plus for Benjamin, a big plug for them, and a minus for Dan. And Dan is now gone, and now we know why. They didn't do what they were supposed to.
Continuing in verse 14. Ahio, Shashak, Jeremoth, Zebediah, Meshullam, Hizki, Heber, Ishmerai, Islah, and Jobab were the sons of Elpaal. Zachem, Zikri, Zabdi, Elionai, Zelethai, Eliel, Adiah, Beriah, and Shimrath were the sons of Shimei. Ishpan, Eber, Eliel, Abdon, Zikri, Hanan, Hanaiah, Elam, and Thothajah, Ifdiah, and Penuel were the sons of Shashak. Shamsharai, Sheshariah, Athaliah, Jeareshiah, Eljah, and Zikri were the sons of Jeraham. All these were heads of families, chiefs, as listed in their genealogy, and they lived in Jerusalem.
All right, they lived in Jerusalem. The physical location of the tribe of Benjamin adds to the importance of this tribe. Jerusalem was originally in Benjamin's territory, but very close to their border of Judah. However, in Joshua 18, the Benjamites failed to drive out the Jebusites who lived there. When David conquered Jerusalem in 2 Samuel 5, it became the capital, and Judah took over Jerusalem. But it appears many Benjamites stayed or returned post-exile to Jerusalem. This makes sense because after the kingdom split, Benjamin aligned with Judah rather than the northern kingdom of Israel. So there's a lot of love between the two tribes. This political alliance meant Benjamites maintained close ties to Jerusalem as the capital of the southern kingdom. The chronicler makes this detail drop about Benjamin because he's on a mission to prove continuity between pre-exile and post-exile Israel. It's like he's saying the same thing over and over in different ways to build his case that all the exiles of Israel from every tribe should come back and start again in Jerusalem. Because, see, Benjamin, you have history here and belong here too.
Verse 29. Jeiel, the father of Gibeon, lived in Gibeon. His wife's name was Maacah, and his firstborn son was Abdon, followed by Zur, Kish, Baal, Ner, Nadab, Gedor, Ahio, Zechar, and Mikloth, who was the father of Shimei. They too lived near their relatives in Jerusalem. Ner was the father of Kish, Kish the father of Saul.
Jeiel was the founder of Gibeon. Now, this is important because Gibeon was important. And the author is highlighting Saul's connection to the founder of Gibeon. It also could mean that Saul had foreign Gibeonite ancestors. And here goes our inclusive author hinting again at those who are grafted into Israel. Because Gibeon was a large fortified city in the territory given to Benjamin. Now, way back in Joshua chapter 9, when Joshua was conquering Canaan, the Gibeonites tricked Joshua into making a peace treaty by pretending to be from a distant land. Because of this oath, the Israelites could not destroy the Gibeonites, and they lived as servants amongst the Israelites and were kind of grafted in. After the conquest of Canaan, Gibeon became the religious center of Israel, and the tabernacle was set up in Gibeon until the temple was built in Jerusalem. So they worshiped at Gibeon for a really long time. Now, in the book of Nehemiah, in chapter 3, the Benjamites of Gibeon are given the credit for helping rebuild the walls of Jerusalem after the exile. This was a big job and a big deal. Note also, our author once again drops a Gentile ancestor into the genealogy. This Maacah, Jael's wife, is most likely Aramean, as was the Maacah, David's wife and mother of Absalom in 1 Chronicles 3:2, as was Manasseh's wife in 1 Chronicles 7:14. Jarrah, the Egyptian slave, married to Sheshan's daughter in 1 Chronicles 2:34. Judah's first wife, Shua, was a Canaanite woman as well. His other wife, Tamar, is also thought to be Canaanite, and she is the mother of Perez and in the line of David and Jesus. Boaz's wife was a Moabite, and she too is in the line of David and Jesus. The point our author is weaving into this genealogy is this: God has a plan to include people of every nation beyond Israel. God promised Abraham he would be a blessing to the nations, and our author embraces that promise and sees the grafting in of the nations in these genealogies. That is why he calls out the foreigners in these genealogies, even if they are women who normally wouldn't be listed because the lines followed the males born to each family. This chronicler is a visionary. He sees the future through the eyes of God. Okay, here we're getting down to it. The descendants of Saul.
Continuing in verse 33. And Saul, the father of Jonathan, Malchi-Shua, Abinadab, and Eshbaal, the son of Jonathan, Merib-Baal.
Now, every time you see Merib-Baal, it's really Mephibosheth,
who was the father of Micah. The sons of Micah, Pithon, Melech, Terah, and Ahaz. Ahaz was the father of Jehoiada. Jehoiada, the father of Alameth, Asmaveth, and Zimri. And Zimri was the father of Moza. Moza, the father of Bineah. Rapha was his son. Elisah, his son, and Azel, his son. Azel had 6 sons, and these were their names: Azrikam, Bokeru, Ishmael, Sheariah, Obadiah, and Hanan. All these were the sons of Azel, the sons of his brother Eshek, Ulam his firstborn, Jeush the second son, and Eliphalet the third. The sons of Ulam were brave warriors who could handle the bow. They had many sons and grandsons, 150 in all. All these were the descendants of Benjamin.
The chronicler boldly points out that the line of Saul continued and grew during the time of David. This is unusual because normally when a king took over, they killed everyone in the former regime. This was a detail drop to remind the Israelites of an important relationship between Benjamin's house and Judah's house. It was a very personal relationship between a Benjamite, Jonathan, the crown prince, and a Judite, David, the one who replaced him as king. Listen to 1 Samuel.
1 Samuel 20, starting in verse 13. Then Jonathan said to David, "If my father intends to harm you, may the Lord deal with Jonathan, be it ever so severely, if I do not let you know and send you away in peace. May the Lord be with you, as he has been with my father. But show me unfailing kindness like the Lord's kindness as long as I live, so that I may not be killed. And do not ever cut off your kindness from my family, not even when the Lord has cut off every one of David's enemies from the face of the earth." So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, "May the Lord call David's enemies to account." And Jonathan had David reaffirm this oath out of love for him, because he loved him as he loved himself.
David was faithful to his pledge to Jonathan in 1 Samuel because he loved Jonathan as a brother. And because throughout David's years on the run from Saul, David refused to lift a hand against God's anointed, King Saul. The author wants all to remember that Judah was faithful to Benjamin. These two men from these two tribes had been close, and the tribes need to be close. Jonathan's son, Mephibosheth, and all his descendants lived because of David's loyalty to Jonathan. Okay, here's the conclusion. The genealogy of all those who lived in Israel before the exile is complete. The author has creatively woven together a history and a case for why all belong in the restoration of Israel. All Israel. This was so important to him. All 12 tribes were represented in his genealogies. It's as if he's saying, this is who we are, who you are. Even though you were born in captivity, you belong here. He has filled all with hope. And then he says this.
In chapter 9, all Israel was listed in the genealogies recorded in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah. They were taken captive to Babylon because of their unfaithfulness.
So we go from hope to all were taken captive. And there you have it. The challenge. It's like he's saying to them, your tribes belonged until they didn't because they were unfaithful. And you belong now only if you can be faithful. What do you want, Israel? I have to wonder, did our author doubt the possibility? Did he ever wonder if there would ever be a united Israel, all the tribes together again? Well, we know the end of the story. There wasn't in biblical times. There hasn't been since biblical times. But maybe in the future, listen to the Apostle John's vision in Revelation.
Revelation 7, starting in verse 2. Then I saw another angel coming up from the east, having the seal of the living God. He called out in a loud voice to the 4 angels who had been given power to harm the land and the sea. Do not harm the land or the sea or the trees until we put a seal on the foreheads of the servants of our God. Then I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 from all the tribes of Israel. From the tribe of Judah, 12,000 were sealed. From the tribe of Reuben, 12,000 were sealed. From the tribe of Gad, 12,000. From the tribe of Asher, 12,000. From the tribe of Naphtali, 12,000. From the tribe of Manasseh, 12,000. From the tribe of Simeon, 12,000. From the tribe of Levi, 12,000. From the tribe of Issachar, 12,000. From the tribe of Zebulun, 12,000. From the tribe of Joseph, 12,000. From the tribe of Benjamin, 12,000. The great multitude in white robes. After this I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne and before the Lamb.
Maybe it wasn't just the Apostle John who saw this world vision of a united 12 tribes and every nation. Maybe this vision is what our chronicler saw. Maybe it is what drove him in his narrative to include every tribe and all the foreigners too. Maybe he saw a vision of the final kingdom where there will be representation from every tribe of Israel and from every nation, people, and language of the world.
We've got merch! Great news! Bible Book Club sweatshirts are here, and they're only available while supplies last. So if you want to snag yours, go to BibleBookClubPodcast.com/store. They're only going to be available while supplies last, so hurry and get yours. And if you're enjoying the Bible Book Club, why don't you share it? And then you and all your friends can listen and discuss. New episodes drop every Monday.